Gather, veterans. It's time to join the fight. The long war begins.
This is The Long War. I'm Robbie B, and joining me is my full partners in crime tonight, Kenny Boucher, Stephen Ford, and Mike Haspel. What's up, Cass?
Yo, dog, great to be here.
Hey, what's up, everybody?
Hey, everybody.
Haspel's here live from Colorado.
No Game of Thrones quotes, nothing?
Yo, speaking of Colorado, Kenny, you're rolling out there, next week, right?
Yeah, I think I'm leaving on the 2nd. Probably going to stay up all day, all night, and just leave at like 11 p.m. I operate at night anyway. It just makes sense for me. Like if I were to wake up early and then try to start the drive, it would just be worse.
Yeah, that's true. And to be honest,
That's true.
you're going to get like 8 solid good hours of driving before traffic starts.
No doubt.
Also true. You'll be able to escape LA, so to speak.
Yes.
See what I did there?
I like that.
Oh, you're so clever.
I
The
did.
proverbial.
like-
No,
death
you
from above.
can't play games out here in LA. It's like my lady's dad was over here the other day, and he was like, "Oh, I want to drive up to Banning. I'm gonna leave at this time." But he's like, "If you don't leave by 2:30, then don't even try to leave until 7:30."
Brutal.
It's like, or it'll take you the same amount of time. You'll get. It's like, damn, son. Like, so that's. I mean, that's, you got to plan your day around that here.
That kind of makes sense.
Yo, I mean, not even to, like, I can't even imagine sitting in traffic like that. Like, I got so frustrated the other day. Like, I was actually on post. Went to the commissary, checked that out, got some groceries and stuff, right? The traffic was so terrible. I was forced
I
to
must
go
have been
right.
5 p.m.
Oh, it was.
Yep.
Pulled out of the commissary right at 5. And, you know, it was basically, I want to
Yep.
put it in perspective, Kenny, when I say so terrible. The road was shut down, and it added 15 minutes to my trip. And I was irate.
Around 5 o'clock here.
15 minutes, bro. And I was like,
You're ready to kill for 15
Worst.
minutes.
ever. I can't imagine. Like, cars as far as the eye can see, but it only lasts, you know.
Yeah,
but,
it's
I mean,
like 30 minutes.
you know, it's terrible, and I hate it, you know, but, like, when I put it in perspective of what you guys got going on over there, it's like 4 hours.
Yeah, at the wrong
Yeah.
time of day, it'll take me an hour and 35 minutes to get to the airport, and then when I come back and take the flyaway, it's like 26 minutes.
Whew.
I have nothing to say. It's a different style of living.
Yep.
Well, let's talk about more serious stuff. Gaming, of course.
Yep. No, the thing that matters the most. I don't
Yeah,
even have
I
to
mean-
leave the house anymore. I just game here, just get on the podcast with you guys, do my painting tutorials. I don't need to go outside.
Yeah, right? Besides, the sun burns us. Anyways, or at least me. So the title of tonight's episode is Age of Sigmar. Is it the new 40K? Question mark. Because, well, we know there's points coming, right? And there's been a lot of stuff spoiled over the past couple of days about how it all's going to work, and you know, they're really making this concentrated effort. There's an online global campaign. You know, it's really starting to heat up, and a lot of people are getting excited. A lot of people that we know. I mean, I can think of 5 people right off the top of my head that traditionally are like all 40K all the time, and they're like, "Yo, this Age of Sigmar," especially when those new trees dropped on Monday. Like, what do you guys think?
Yep. First off, making points is going to be a game changer.
Yeah,
That's so, like, without that being said, like anything else, like Age of Sigmar could make a major push right now, and I'm behind it. These models are unbelievable. We know it for the longest time. Hands down, GW makes the best models, the best whatever. It's whether or not they can give rules, they can, you know, provide the right information for us to play.
Yeah, the only thing that it's missing is really, like you said, the points, because
Mhm.
they've already gone to round basis, a very 40K thing to do. They've even scaled up basic infantry to be on 32 millimeter basis instead of 25, another 40K thing to do. They're implementing global campaigns, which was always a 40K thing. And additionally, even their sculpts are looking very 40K.
Yes.
Even their organic models have like modular armor built in, very smooth and fantasy organic flows, but very sci-fi and design in a fantasy world.
Yeah, I've been trying to sit here, you know, and like, how do I describe that? Like to a T, that's exactly what I would wanted to say, Kenny. Of like, their sculpts have went more futuristic with a fantasy flair than fantasy models.
Yeah, I mean, there's that certain fantasy always had that certain era of realism, you know, back in the day, like bows
Yeah,
and
you're
arrows.
right. Skinny little arms that were
Right.
scaled down to be like what an average person looked like, plucking skinny little bowstrings and real
Yep.
size little daggers and skinny little faces. And now it's all hero scale, all epic scale, big ass arms, big ass shoulders, big ass weapons, big ass mounts. The mounts are bigger than ever. Like
The
before,
mounts are bigger. The large scale models that they come out with, that fucking spider for whatever the Black Orcs or whatever it is that has unfucking real. Like
And that was
remember how they had
like
that?
right there.
They had that dragon back in the day, that pewter dragon way back in the day.
that
and it
has
was
two
like-
riders.
It was like the biggest thing ever, and it was like that's just like an average size mount these days.
Yeah, nowadays with the same thing with 40K and the Carnifex. Like the Carnifex was like the biggest, coolest thing in the history of ever, and then or the Bloodthirster even.
Yeah.
Like, and now you just look at it and you're like, why is it so small? Oh.
Night Titans and Wraith Knights and shit like that is just so big.
And lastly, just to put it in perspective, sorry, Kenny, is like Man Beer Painting.
Mhm.
Obviously, who hooked us up and does phenomenal work. What was the model that he used for that converted over for the Slanesh Eldrake?
He used the Archaon's mount
Yeah, that model is unreal.
of the new Age.
Yeah, that thing is like the Tiamat of
So-
the Warhammer universe.
Mhm.
Haspel, correct me if I'm wrong, but didn't Archeon used to just ride a horse?
Yes, he did.
So
Funny
now
story about
Archeon's
that.
mount is the biggest thing ever.
That is his horse, actually.
Oh, there it is.
He got bigger.
Yeah, that's like I feel like Willow dropped an acorn on Akron's horse, and it's turned into this. Like.
Yeah, no, there's some cool stuff coming, and I definitely think we'll dig deeper into the rules because I want to see what you guys think of like the way they're trying to lay out the game now versus obviously the one thing that's near and dear to our hearts and all of our stuff's about 40K because it seems really interesting the way they're setting it up and the way that they're really trying to make things work. I feel like this I don't want to say it's a reboot because it's just like maybe a supplemental revision. I feel like so. But
Spiritually, it's spiritually a reboot, like for
yeah,
sure.
spiritually yes, but not.
I don't believe for even
officially.
1 second that they had always planned to do this. I believe in my
No
heart
way.
that
No.
I believe that they were like, no, it's fine the way it is, and now, the prophets have shown that it's not where it needs to be. The audience has mentioned that they're upset with it, and they're not, and they're playing old 8th edition tournaments, and so they're like, okay, and now that they've shown you what they're doing online with the FAQ, the 40K FAQ. They're definitely listening and they're trying to fix things and they're trying to bring us what we want because if we want to play your game system, we will. And you're in the business of giving us what we want for money.
Yeah. And that goes for a lot. I mean, they may not be getting everything exactly the way we want them to be. And I mean, you can't please everybody all the time anyway.
No.
But they're at least listening and being responsive as opposed to the way they were, 6th and up, 7th up until
Even
3 months
5th.
ago where they were just like, hey, pound sand, we're going to do whatever we want to do, and you don't have to play our game. I think their attitude has really changed, and that counts for a lot. When you're like, hey, they are listening, and trying.
Well, I would say us as the consumer is we're reaping the positive benefits now
Mhm.
from us using that old line saying GW is about money. Well, GW is a business. We keep saying that, right?
Yeah,
we are
it's
now
true.
going to be reaping the benefits of that because they see potential downfalls in their company. They see people not being happy with their product. They see other gaming companies coming through clutch and coming out with some amazing stuff. So obviously now, what are we going to say? Like GW is a business company. So they are going to listen. They are going to evolve. They are going to give us exactly what people want.
Well, let me put it to you this way: when 7th edition 40K came out, how many big national 6th edition 40K tournaments were there? Now, when Age of Sigmar came out, how many 9th Age tournaments has there been already?
Yeah.
National level, like I can think of 3.
Yeah.
So it's kind of unprecedented, to be quite honest. Like as far as the comparison to 40K versus an acceptance of the edition and moving forward, as to maybe Age of Sigmar dropped and people weren't happy with it, so they they went with 9th Age, they went with 8th edition, which a lot of folks in Australia are doing.
I mean, you're talking shy of, we used the reference before, a 3.5 D&D, role playing, to 4th edition was the very similar, and 4th edition basically almost died. Right?
That's true.
Like another company came in and completely wrote rules and everything else. And I honestly think that Pathfinder was that company.
Yeah,
I honestly believe that GW could, maybe the writing was on the wall for Age of Sigmar if they didn't take, a solid stance.
Yep, and I think they're making the right moves right now. We'll dive into more of that later. As far as Tabletop Market Watch goes, I know Haspel had some. You got some video game upcoming.
Yeah. On the 7th of July, they are going to be releasing Battlefleet Gothic Leviathan, and this is not Battlefleet Gothic Armada, which came out on PC, which I adore. And they just got the Space Marine Astartes fleets, and that game is fantastic. But that's more of like an RTS kind of game. It is a fantastic adaptation of Battlefleet Gothic, but it is not Battlefleet Gothic exactly the way it is on the tabletop. Now, Battlefleet Gothic Leviathan is the tabletop game. It is exactly the same thing. On the demo videos that they had and everything, you can actually see the dice.
The dice, yeah.
Rolled out onto the table. So it's an adaptation of it, just like Blood Bowl is. The Blood Bowl games, they basically just ported Blood Bowl straight over to a computer system, but it's actually using the die rolls and everything like that. This is the exact same thing, and obviously with the name Leviathan, gives you a hint who the big bad guys are.
It's got to be the Space Marines or something, because
I think it's Necrons.
Probably the Imperial.
That's
Imperial
what
Guard.
it is. Because we know who the good guys of the 40K universe are.
Minding their own business, just chomping on some trees.
Chomping on,
people.
Yeah, so that will be coming out, and right now that's going to be basically for the tablet and phone market only. It's Android and iOS. I'm hoping that they eventually down the line, put it out on Steam or something. Like they did another company did the similar thing for Deathwatch. It was a phone, tablet game for a while, and then they put out like an HD enhanced edition for PC. Because honestly, I would want to, with the graphics the way they are, and they look really good, I don't want to just play that on my phone or my tablet. Sometimes I just want to sit down and play a strategy game on my computer, so but definitely look out for that. It should be pretty cool. I'll be picking it up for certain.
Cool. Give us a rundown when you get it. Let us know how it is.
Definitely, yeah.
Let's see. For miniatures, we got, of course, the new Wood Elves that will be coming out next week. Those sick ass Wood Elf or Sylvaneth models now. And
is that the giant beetle?
Yeah, it's the giant beetle. That thing look how dope is that?
It looks exactly like the giant beetle in Starship Troopers that came about.
Exactly.
The ground, it just started fucking people up with its lava vomit.
Absolutely. And I just want to showcase that bug. Let's just showcase here now. That planet, I'm pretty sure was a bug planet, right? So that beetle was just doing his beetle shit. Hey,
just hanging out on the ground.
Hanging out. He pops up to get some beetle air, and next thing you know is we've got the mean
Rico running up in there shooting holes in his back, throwing grenades.
Rico just harassed him, straight up jumped on his back. I mean, I just can't imagine. Out of nowhere.
How rude.
Jumped on him like a spider monkey.
Yep.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, those new releases look pretty fresh. I mean, and that just goes to show what we were talking about earlier, with all this designs and the, forward thinking and, even the way they're putting this stuff together. We talked about briefly on the webcast where a lot of the seam lines, are underneath in a hidden area, so you don't even have to worry as much about, trimming down the flash or things being exposed when you don't want them. It's just very forward thinking. I feel like it's cool to see that they're taking all that time and effort to put into the models these days.
Yeah.
It's not just,
they're on a different level with their sculpts. They conceal
without a doubt,
connection pieces in amazing ways. Like, this arm is going to connect here, and that deep seam, it looks exactly like it's supposed to, because that's where these two panels meet. I've never seen anything like it. Having just built all these Stormcasts and all these dwarves and everything, I'm like, yep, this is the next level. Like,
yeah, they're
bringing it.
it's what sets them apart. I feel like, and we see that more and more with these releases. Even that big ass dwarf dragon, the Magnadroth. Like where do you even start? Like, I mean, it's just so big and so dope looking, and I'm sure it goes together really awesome. And I don't even know.
But before we spend too much time on fantasy and stuff like that, it feels like to me now it might be wrong because I look at 40K so much and I don't feel like, I mean, we've had Centurions come out, we've had Night Titans come out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel recently, with I would even say 5 to 8 years, each book between the Skaven, the Dwarves, everybody else, these new model kits that the big guys that each army is getting. The new medium-sized guys, like the new mounts and everything else, like they are just redoing. It feels like so much more than 40K. Is that just a feeling for me being a 40K player? Like I'm not salty at all. I'm just like I'm impressed with the models and stuff. Like, is that a thing or no?
I think they are. I mean, GW is getting a lot of love too, but I absolutely think you're right. It's like a full-scale resculpt of most of their miniatures.
They kind of have to do it, and here's why I think they're doing that. It's an intellectual property drive. You know what I mean? And that's why they're resculpting you're seeing more new stuff for like Age of Sigmar, because not only did they change the fluff, but that's why they renamed everything. So that they're not dwarves, they're Duarden, and they're not elves, they're elfs or whatever. Is because the Warhammer world was kind of your generic, and when I say generic, I don't mean like, it was just plug and play fantasy system. It definitely did have its own lore.
Is that classic Tolkien?
Yeah, it was heavily influenced by Tolkien.
Uncopyrightable.
Yeah, exactly. Because you could literally sit down, and unless you put in something specific like Bretonnians or something like that, which were obviously based on the Arthurian legends, but unless you said something specific, you could essentially do an entire fantasy game based directly on their stuff and not infringe on copyright or their IP at all, because you can't copyright orc or wood elf, or you just can't copyright that. That's just two words stuck together. Whereas in 40K, I think they have a little bit more stuff that is definitely, I mean, there was the whole foofara with Space Marine a year or so back, but Astartes, that's definitely
why they named it Codex Astartes,
and that's why they changed the name to Astra Militarum instead of Imperial Guard. That's why you saw, instead of Sisters of Battle, you see Adepta Sororitas. The only few generic things that are out there still are like Chaos Demons. But even then, Chaos is kind of a 40K thing. When you say Chaos, people aren't really thinking anything but. So with the whole reinvention of all the fluff for Age of Sigmar and everything like that, where they've got the different planes and everything, they've made a more original fantasy setting than what Warhammer Fantasy used to be. And I think that's why you're seeing the big push to resculpt, to put everything out.
But also resculpting, because a mistake that GW used to make was they put out rules for models that didn't exist yet.
Yeah.
And if another company came in there and like made those models on like your public domain property, like you can't make those models now, because now they can copyright those models. So like so GW can't let that happen anymore. They can't put out these books with all the like remember back in the day there was so many models, like Thunderwolf Cavalry didn't exist, there's all these Tyranid models that didn't exist.
Absolutely.
Even the Storm Raven
models.
Defiler didn't exist, and so you can't take that chance with all these model making companies out there anymore.
Yeah, matter of fact, even whenever I played, there was a long time, I don't know if you guys know this, but I played Skaven for a very long time, for a good while. And I enjoyed it, but Hell Pit Abominations didn't exist. The Doom Wheel and all that stuff didn't exist. Like they created the sirens and the bells and all that kind of stuff. That was there, and then months later the model kits came out. But you're right, Kenny. Like that isn't something that either Fantasy or 40K is really doing anymore. Like,
Nope.
the rules come out. Matter of fact, we're getting the models before the rules come out.
Well,
Yeah.
now they're doing like what video game companies do, like with digital downloads with like DLC. We're like, hey, let's just make a video game and chop it up into multiple parts and then sell it in separate parts. You know, it's not like they didn't. It's like they already had these rules, and they're like, if we don't have the models yet, don't put them in a codex, and we'll release a data slate later.
Yeah, exactly. And then you get the model, and the model comes with the rules, the little data data scroll or the war scroll, depending on what it is, and then boom, you just work it in later. It gives people a reason to buy. Same thing they're going to do with all the rules and everything, and compile them all into a new second edition codex that'll be like 200 pages big or whatever. So moving forward, we're going to see a lot of changes, and them dropping 10 new releases this week really signals that they're, to me at least, that they're speeding things up. Like, this was easily a month's worth of Elf release, and then they just they're dropping it all at once. So it's almost like, well, what else is going to come out this month? It's going to be huge. You know,
that's a great point. Like, when have they ever passed up an opportunity to drag something out, right?
Not very recently.
Unless, like, I didn't even think about that, Robbie B. Like, they must have a summertime push, something that is bigger than, all the stuff that they just did.
Well,
That's
they
what I would
could
expect.
also be changing their timelines, because we're seeing, like, for White Dwarf, we're seeing it going from weekly to monthly. So they could be, hey, we're going to do one huge drop, in the month, instead of spreading it out by week, because those advertising dollars that we can, like, push, instead of being able to push it, weekly like they did in the little White Dwarfs, they only really push it once. Now, we haven't seen their website that they were talking about, because they were hiring for that. That's kind of a magazine website kind of thing. And that may tie in too. So who knows?
Yeah, there may be some like digital downloads and things. I'm almost wondering if they're doing this basically to go after all of the air quotes leaks and things out there, because people are getting these White Dwarfs, sometimes weeks early. Like we saw, the Tau stuff 3 weeks early. I almost wonder if that was a GW plan.
Yeah,
well,
that's a good point.
Yeah, we saw them react on their Facebook page too, where people had some kind of blurry pictures of some releases, and they just were like, "Well, here you go. Here are the good pictures."
And that was a dangerous precedent too, I feel like, because it almost makes me wonder. They are watching. Like, some of the stuff they say really has me questioning, who they're watching and what they're looking out for. And long story short, people are always going to get stuff early, and they're always going to post it up on a forum or their own personal whatever, what it is. And there's a lot of folks out there that get stuff early, and they might do the wrong thing with it, I guess, so to speak. But at the end of the day, that might not fit into how Games Workshop wants. But when you're putting out a weekly publication, it's very difficult to have that kind of finite control over who gets it when and what country it ships out from and where it goes to and when it arrives. The big areas, the mail, and all these different countries. So they might be throttling back, but they might still put releases in there that, hey, this is 4 weeks worth of releases. Or they may drop the releases, like do some sort of teaser on their new White Dwarf website.
I bet they should start using their Facebook pages more.
That is also possible as well. So it's going to be interesting to see what their plan is, because we know they've been up to a lot of things. They've been in their Beats lab, so to speak, coming out with all these new precedents and initiatives, so to speak. Just look at the FAQs. They're up to something, and they have a course and a direction. It's just how long can they sustain it, / are they willing to
we've been
change
asking that question for over a year now. Seems like forever.
Yeah, but they're definitely doing something, and it's a good precedent to see, because maybe we'll get some of the sites out there and some of the different forums, instead of concentrating on, hey, here's this rumor, hey, here's this blurry picture, hey,
yeah,
maybe here's
we'll
some
get
content.
We'll get a lot more substance to our...
Right. Here's some content. Here's some home brews. Here's some stuff to look at. Here's some conversions. Here's some hobby content, and that'll be more enriching for the whole hobby as a whole, I feel like, and that would be good to see. So we got all that stuff coming out, and also this week the new Stormcloud attack box sets come out. That's the flyer, the two flyer box thing, and that's looking to be like a whole very intensive game. Like it's a whole big standalone game in there.
And what's interesting is I went ahead and picked it up on my iPad. They had the entire game. I think it was like $5. For data sheets for every flyer in the game, and then the actual game for and it's not the same game as a Death from the Skies. Like this is a completely different game. And the data sheets for the flyers, they had them all in there, but they have completely different stats and everything. If you guys give me just a second, I'll bring it up so that I can.
Okay. So it's more pertaining to that game itself. I almost wonder if it's like kind of like how there's like Kill Team and there's like smaller kind of skirmish level versions of 40K. I almost wonder if that's.
Yeah, the app is called My Pilot, and it comes like you create a pilot because you can track your pilot in there and they gain skills and everything over the thing. It has all the missions are built in here, and it comes with 24 missions. That are Stormcloud attack rules. They range from like 1-to-1 duels between 2 aircraft or pitch battles between several ships. And then it has the actual rules for Stormcloud attack, which is, like I said, a completely different game. And then it has all the data sheets, including the Vendetta for the folks that are frustrated that the Valkyrie, it is a Valkyrie Vendetta. So if you're looking at Death from the Skies, just use the stats from the Valkyrie. But I'm going to pull up the Vendetta here, and it has, like, these are the stats it has, which you can immediately hear are different than what we've seen before. They're like maximum power, acceleration, braking, toughness, structure, and damage control.
Well, did you say toughness?
Yeah, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, I did say toughness.
I was like, what?
Yeah, and then it's got, like different maneuvers that it can do, like bank, hover, level flight, overthrust, snap turn, wing over. So it's way more of a air-to-air game than even the dogfight phase in Death from the Skies. This is definitely a dedicated air-to-air game.
This is like that. It's like Imperial Knight Renegade, like its own little game.
Yes, yeah. It's more akin to that than Death from the Skies.
I'm digging it. I think it'll be pretty neat to see, and if it's a precedent for more and more of these board games. And then we saw that that Gore Chosen board game. It's like the Arena of Death or whatever. For Age of Sigmar's coming out in September too. So it seems like more and more these snap release, these mini game kind of things are going to be coming out in the near future, and that's exciting too. It keeps people in the hobby. It's a lot easier to play some of these mini games than it is a full 3 or 4 hour game of 40K, depending.
And we've seen good results so far for these mini games.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see you guys play it because we just did a Lost Patrol. Not a report, and it's going to make it to the regular YouTube here soon, but it's up on the Hall of Veterans.
I'm going to take a wild guess and guess that the scouts got massacred.
Well, smarty pants, yes.
This guy over here.
Yo, so obviously with these games we can always find rules and stuff that we would like different, right? So it's harder to change rules in 40K, right? But Robbie B and I found with playing these, you can make minor critiques, and it doesn't even feel like you haven't changed the core of the game. You haven't anything else. And wow, the difference.
Yep.
How the game turns out.
Definitely take a look at the battle report when it hits the mainstream. If you haven't already seen it, there's a little bit of a narrative flair. They play through the game, and they play through the game with the narrative formula, and you'll see just a couple of tweaks makes the game a lot more enjoyable. But still, it goes from like very hard survival mode to just hard mode.
Yeah. Still got to that IDKFA code.
On one of GW's Facebook posts, they put up that if you're looking at it, and Juice can probably relate, but if you look at Lost Patrol from a Gene Stealer's point of view, it's actually a pretty easy game.
Yeah, seems good. Seems a great way to spend my night.
It's a single player game. There's really no reason to play it with 2 people. As I was watching you guys play it in the battle report.
I did that a couple of times just to try to get some new rules.
Like the Gene Stealer thought process, it seems pretty simple. Like Like there's like two strategies, and you're just like, all right, which ones am I using?
Yeah.
Oh, that's a cool point. I guess I never thought of it like that. If you just actually play the game from the scout point of view, and it's pretty easy to run your own the Gene Stealers as the computer generated bad guys. Like you're right, there's only a couple moves,
Yeah, they only got a couple, and their moves are obvious. Like and so the scouts are just playing reactionary the whole time anyway. So I see it as a why waste another human being's life by making them man the Gene Stealers? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The only thing the Gene Stealer guy does is he gets to place the tiles, right? So.
Yeah, flip the tile, do that. Yeah.
Yeah,
there's rules in play. I mean, only when it matters if a curve is a curve this way or that way. So you just always have to make a curve the worst way if you're playing against yourself, you know.
Yep.
It's that simple. But I want to ask you guys real quick, what's new in the FAQ today?
So
I heard something. I heard Mike Haspel was hard in Beats Lab writing up a new FAQ.
Yeah, like he does every week for us. Thank you, Haspel. We appreciate that. So I was happy whenever I woke up this morning and saw on the interwebs that it was Blood Angel on deck. You know,
so much potential.
Wow, was the potential actually endless? You know, with this,
Mm-hmm.
Blood Angels affect all of us in different ways. We all love them, and needless to say, I felt like today's FAQ was like giving yourself blue balls.
I think, yeah, Haspel, you fucked up on this one. And it's like, obviously, it seems like for the last few episodes that we've been hating on GW. And it may seem like that, but I promise you it might be a little bit that, but not as much as you think. If GW keeps fucking up, we're going to keep calling them on it.
You got to call them on it. Like, would you guys actually give a shit what we said if we didn't call a spade a spade?
Well, when we came in hot on the Dreadnought stuff, you saw, like, literally less than 3 days later, they're like, oh, hey, by the way, this is official errata now.
Yeah.
Like, well, that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, like they're fucking up, and if when they fuck up, they don't always fuck up. We just spent 15 minutes talking about how they're not fucking up, and
right.
So that was the positivity. Now here comes the negativity. Like you gotta call them like you see them. We are a positive force. Bringing Hobby back is a positive campaign, but you can't fake positivity if it's not there. Like there's very little, not 100% shitty. We'll start with the positive, and then we'll talk about the negative, then maybe we'll end with another positive.
The positive is they brought the Dreadnoughts in line with the other ones, the errata. They updated Castor or whatever his name is.
Castor the Damned.
Yeah,
he's the troop choice Dreadnought from the White Dwarf article. He's amazing and
right. He's definitely worth taking. They brought the Scouts in line, the Weapon Skill 4, Ballistic Skill 4 now.
So that was kind of cool. Like we haven't seen them change that massive thing since like Dark Angel Storm Shields.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So like everybody had them, everybody just switched to one except this, and then now basically Blood Angel's like the last guy on the totem pole, and then they came through. So that was cool. Right? I thought that it was the time and effort that was spent in to describe to you under these 5 bulletins of or bullet points on how to have the Dream Crusher formation allow you to assault on turn 1. Like they broke that down, right? So
no one can argue. No one can argue with it anymore.
Like
no
this
gray
is how
area.
it works now. Half a page.
Yeah,
Boom.
GW has a lot of fucking gray areas sometimes. It ain't in trying to roll up on somebody charging on turn 1 with the Dream Crusher formation.
No.
And you can tell, though, by their designer notes that when they wrote that Dream Crusher formation way back in like 2014, you can tell they never thought anyone was going to try to charge on turn 1 with it.
No, because they really didn't.
They actually led with the thing, the first statement or sentence is like, this was quite an interesting question. Like it was, oh wow, I didn't see this. This was kind of interesting.
Whoa.
Those
cheeky Americans again with their competitive ideas.
They were playing it off like oh yeah, of course. I mean if you wanted to charge on turn 1 for some insane reason, but
yeah. Well, I mean it's not like there's like 4 other ways to do it now between psychic
in that
powers.
same. Yeah, like after that formation came out, the Blood Oath came out, and there was a formation and a Charybdis that could do it, and then Sky Annihilation Force came out, and now we have multiple second powers that let us do it. They don't care. They obviously don't care. They just didn't think that the 1,000-point formation also had it. It's like word. Got it.
Also, we agreed that across the board we are seeing things get FAQ that needed we needed some clarification in 2015. We needed clarification at the end of 2014. You know, like
Not necessarily at this point.
That is the positivity. You know what I mean? Like it is, and for anyone who doesn't know what the Dreamcatcher formation is, it's the triple Storm Raven formation that it can come on turn 1. You're required to take 30 Tactical Marines inside those Storm Ravens, and any unit coming in through Deep Strike reserves gets to be within 12 inches of the formation, not scatter, and the unit can assault out of it.
Yeah, so you got to have a drop pod, and it's got to come in on turn 1.
Yes, and so a lot of people, when it first came out, they were like, oh, I can deep strike my Terminators in, or my Sanguinary Guarded, I could do all these cool things. So yeah, if you want a really beefy squad of dudes with like special characters in them and all this cool stuff, yeah, that's a turn 2 assault. But if you want to hit somebody hard on turn 1, it's going to be a drop pod, and the whole argument there that got people's, like, well, it's a vehicle, or, the unit's deep striking, like, how can you justify this? And then they came out and they're like, yeah, I mean, it's an open top vehicle. It is coming in through deep strike reserves, which falls in the category of what this formation does.
Yep.
And yes, you can absolutely assault out of this drop pod on turn 1, assuming that your formation of Storm Ravens came in on turn 1. Obviously, a comms relay with your new sick-ass scouts in it, where Ballistic Score 4, manning a comms relay. Obviously, you bring in 3 Storm Ravens. You bring in the drop pod automatically with 5 Thunderhammer Storm Shield Terminators in it. You can go 36 inches with those Storm Ravens, put this drop pod right where you need to, doesn't scatter, and open the pedals and measure 6 inches off of the pedals with your Terminators and assault literally anything. Like, so that is powerful, but you got to pay like 1,000 points to do that.
Totally worth it.
So I mean, I think it's cool. Like, I mean,
I think it's
worth doing if you have it.
So I'm gonna go ahead and take the Blood Angel side on this and say, with the new, if you're playing in tournaments and the new flyer shit is real, like you guys are gonna see coming up in a little bit, like flyers are back. They have cool ass special abilities that can have them turn an extra 90 degrees. I can have things this. So like bringing to the table 3 Storm Ravens. Now they're not going to be off the board, so that's kind of where a lot of the buffs from that comes. But flyers are going to be a thing, and Storm Ravens are still a thing.
And I hate it. Like, one of the things I hate about flyers is I hate starting my army with some of my biggest power units not on the table. I hate that.
Yeah.
And this formation gets around that. 1 roll brings the whole formation in. All 3 Storm Ravens. So that is the positive. And so for the negative part of the sandwich, if you don't mind, I would like to read this text message.
Please.
So this comes from our boy Mike C, a.k.a. Uncle Touchy's Basement on Twitch.
I feel like it's almost, we shouldn't even say that. No, I'm just kidding.
I'm not sure.
It's hilarious.
I can't make these Twitch handles up. We got a lot of interesting Twitch handles on Twitch.
Dirty Sheets Mesquites.
Dirty Sheets Mesquites, the greatest Twitch handle of all
Good one,
time.
too.
So Mike C comes in sends me a screenshot of the Warhammer 40K FAQ page, to Warhammer 40K, to the page. Just to review, this army can't take Centurions, Grav Cannons, Command Squads on bikes, any truly useful formations that compare to Space Marines, no access to relics given out of Eternal Warrior, no Stalkers, no Hunters, no Cataphractii armor. They have a Lord of War Chapter Master with toughness 4, Furious or Dreadnoughts that can be stunned, no Venerable additions. They have fake chapter tactics that only work when they charge in a hyper shooty game, when they launch the assault. All this, and your errata scouts. I feel like you just pissed on me and told me it was raining. And he asked me, he's like, yo, you think I came in too hot? And this is right when I woke up. And I was like, well, I haven't seen the FAQ yet, but based on your words, I feel like that's exactly the right temperature.
Yep, I think everybody here on the Long War, we endorse that.
We love Blood Angels.
At the right temperature.
We love Blood Angels. Blood Angels have fallen so far from like when we won the Adepticon team tournament with 4 Blood Angels armies, just running around, crushing people in close combat with Assault Marines and Rhinos and attack bikes and all this cool shit. And now here we are with like Blood Angels being just lame.
Busters.
Like, what happened?
Buster McBustertons, mayor of the Bostonians.
They're getting a Chaos Space Marine treatment right now.
It's because they gave out the STC to the Storm Raven. That's why. Gave it away. Stupid. Didn't get nothing in return.
Yeah, I mean,
technically the Grey Knights did that.
Whatever.
And look what happened to the Grey Knights.
Yeah,
they got Grey Knighted.
They got Grey Knighted.
You got your own verbiage.
That's what you get there.
I think that's a pretty fun summary of the negative, but as Juice said earlier, like they are reading, they are responding. They are clarifying, even if they seem redundant to some people. Having the clarifications makes things, so much easier to play. It gives you so much more confidence to bring these crazy combos to the tabletop, just knowing that an entire game company that designed the game you're playing backs you on this possibly dicey play with this drop pod. That is, to me, that is a positive though.
So, in my last thing on talking about the FAQ is we always look at rules, we look at things, and we immediately say, is this a precedent? Is that what's being said here? Is this my bullets that I'm going to use to go against your ruling, I'm going to quote 3 other things that have happened in the past, right? I look at this as such a big positive. This is one of the first times in GW's history that I can remember that they actually spent a full page of something to clarify one issue. I can only hope that once they get to the relative, shit that's going on right now, that they can give that same, that same forethought into it.
Yeah, and this is the second time we've seen them drop that designer's note. And honestly, I think that's awesome because it gives you a little window into what the design studio was thinking, because a lot of times we're like, what the hell were they thinking when they were doing this? Now we're getting a little bit of a window to go, oh, this is the thought process that went into doing this.
Is it too soon to say that I would love to see the designer's notepad when they did the Eldar book?
A bunch of little dudes going pew 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 pew.
Oh my god, I haven't even thought about that, but I can't wait to see the Eldar FAQ.
I would love to see some justification and some designer notes on everything in that book.
Oh, we still got some juicy FAQs out there. There's still Grey Knights, there's Eldar, there's Chaos, of
Chaos
course.
Space Marines. God damn it. Yeah.
Grey Knights.
If they're gonna do my Blood Angels like this, that just makes me sad for how they're gonna do my Chaos Space Marines.
I'm gonna go on the record right now and say that Grey Knights is gonna be shorter than the Sisters of Battle one.
Wow. I'm gonna go as far to say right now that within the first, if the Chaos Space Marine FAQ is 3 pages, within the first half of the first page, Lucius the Eternal is going to get addressed. And under the designer note, it is going to be, sorry guys, we fucked up. He should have been 175 points instead of 160.
He hits
end of errata.
End of all errata for Chaos Space Marine.
Drop the mic. Hashtag Hellbrutes or Dreadnoughts 2.
We actually had a typo. It wasn't Lucius the Eternal. It was Lucius the bitch ass.
Yeah, and he's more expensive.
I can see the confusion now why you guys thought he was supposed to be good.
Oh, we got a new Blood Angels formation today. Did you guys see that?
No.
Yeah, there was a new Blood Angels formation. Here, I'll pull it up.
I was like, wait, how the hell did I not hear about this?
Yeah, I totally forgot about it. Oh, there's so much going on. I totally forgot about it till now as well.
Well, take a look for that. Let's take a commercial break, and then let's come back in with the new Blood Angels formation.
Dear veterans, quickly, make your way to thelongwar.net and find out how to reap your hard-earned spoils of this long war. For our allies at Dicehead.com have rewarded us all with an extra 6% discount on all Dicehead.com merchandise. So stock up, dear veterans, and enjoy.
And we're back. Robbie B.
So the new formation is called the Blood Angels Carmine Host, and it is the contents of the new collector's box, the Captain, Tac Squad, and Ball Predator. There is one restriction: the Captain must be equipped with Terminator armor.
Oh, I thought he was going to say a plasma pistol. Jesus Christ, I thought he was going to say a plasma pistol. Oh my God, tell me one of the bonuses is that Ball Predator gets Torrent Flame template.
No.
Please tell me that it finally gives us a Webster's Dictionary pronunciation key so we can just officially just start calling them ball predators.
Yes.
That was also not included or in a designer's note on the formats. So the special rule is honor the Primarch. And what it does is, until the beginning of the next turn, the captain and any units from the Carmine Host that are within 12 inches of him have to feel no pain, and it will not die. Special rules.
For how many turns?
Just one.
And it's just the first turn?
Till the beginning of their next turn.
And he can just say, now it's on?
At the start of the turn, yep, now it's on. This is happening right now.
But only those 11 models, 12 models, including the 10,
Mhm.
get it. Not characters or anything attached.
No,
because it's a special
It's
rule.
terrible.
this is,
Well, it stacks up well against the other battle boxes.
except that Necron one I think we talked about.
Yeah, well, okay, except for the Necron one.
Yeah, it'll beat down that Chaos one for sure. Because
Oh, no.
Hellbrood and walking around like a stupid person in a Chaos Sword and Terminator armor that he can't do anything. Like, at least they got a bunch of walking around stupid people.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it's a good value. You save money on it. It's a good starting point for a lot of people. I would like to see the Sanguinary Priest in there, but I could see why they wanted to put that Terminator dude in there because he looks badass and he kind of looks like that dude from Dawn of War 3. So
They
people
all
are gonna
look
be like,
badass, but no one plays with a captain with a power sword and Terminator armor.
you mean Thunderhammer, right?
Oh, he's got a T hammer.
Yeah.
Oh, he's OP as shit compared to some Chaos Space Marine shit. It's
This
like
one guy actually just overrules the entire
Yeah.
Chaos Space Marine.
It's
build.
like something Haspel and I were talking about earlier when you guys were gone. He was at a tournament recently where they were, and this is something we had talked about with the new Battle Brothers not rolling in each other's transports paradox.
Right.
And he was like, yeah, so they're telling me like my Weirdstone Brotherhood, if I buy like this formation and then a separate formation of the Brotherhood, they can't be in a drop pod because we're Battle Brothers of the same faction because I didn't purchase them in the actual detachment. Even though we're both Space Wolf faction, we're Space Wolves, I can't roll in Space Wolf transports. And I was like, that's something we brought up right when it came out. The paradox is it didn't say Battle Brothers the same of different factions. It said Battle Brothers, and that is Ally Matrix language, where it shows you faction Space Wolf, they connect down, they're Battle Brothers. And they didn't give us any other wording. They said Battle Brothers cannot start the game embarked on a Battle Brothers transport. And since you are from two different detachments, you are in the category of, let me check out faction Space Wolf is Battle Brothers special. So it's like, wait a minute. So that means with all these little box sets, all these cool things, you can't even like ally in like Blood Angels with under this verbiage, Blood Angel. You can't take it like a Blood Angel CAD with this attached to it and put your cool Captain Terminator armor and start the game in that Land Raider.
Well, let's just hope that, the design team realizes, after seeing the little faux pas with just that one little innocuous line in the Dreadnought FAQ or the Drop Pod FAQ, how really important it is. Like, we appreciate that they're out there, hitting the streets, pounding the pavement, putting these FAQs out. But, you got to be on your A game with these things. So let's just hope they give these guys the resources they need. They listen to the feedback. And, they correct the majority of the issues for the actual errata, which would be the final version of these FAQs, going forward whenever we see that in, I don't know, September, October. Maybe we'll see 8th edition. Who knows? But either way, I'm cautiously optimistic that it will be the case because, like I said, it almost seems like they have, task and purpose these days as opposed to just tasks, mindless tasks everywhere. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm hopeful at least. So what do you say we talk about some Age of Sigmar?
Okay, so why? So what is so good about Age of Sigmar? Everyone told me it sucked.
Well, I mean, we just got done talking about how dope the models are, and a lot of people, still have their fantasy models, still have picked up some Age of Sigmar stuff. Because let's face it, some of those like monsters and stuff just look so fresh.
So fresh.
There's no way you couldn't pick some of them up, just paint on it, even if you're not like, I'm never gonna play this game or whatever, and crumble grumble. But now they're bringing out, and we're starting to see some of these leaks and these pictures coming out from the General's Handbook, of everything having a points cost, which is good. There hasn't been a lot of clear definition about how you actually build your Age of Sigmar army.
But they have hinted that there's a force organization chart coming, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, there obviously is. Now we're starting to see some of the pictures at Broke, about how you construct your army. And what I like after looking at them is, there is some clear and concise fixes to some issues. Like, for instance, they have this thing called the 3 rules of 1. And tell me, like, how dope would it be to have like these like golden precedent rules just right off the bat for 40k, right? So the first rule 1 is a spell can only be attempted once per turn rather than once per wizard per turn. Because you used to just be able to cast whatever, whenever.
So you mean like if I have 3 guys and no invisibility, I can only try to cast it once?
Correct.
Sick.
Right. I mean, stone cold right here.
Still,
The
yeah.
second rule 1, and this I think is something that 40K could maybe take a look at. A roll of 1 to hit, wound, or save always fails. This applies to a roll after any rerolls have been taken, but before modifiers are applied.
Nice,
Pretty
nice.
solid, right? And remember too, with fantasy, you used to have modifiers to armor piercing and all that stuff. So fantasy players are used to this sort of thing, I feel like. And the third rule 1 is any extra attacks, hit rolls, or wound rolls gained by the use of ability cannot themselves generate extra attacks, hit rolls, or wound rolls. So you can't go infinite. You know what I mean?
Right.
Which we've seen some issues with in the past in 40K, but not too crazy. I don't feel like.
The old Furiosa Dreadnought with the Blood Talons.
Well, that was an
The
issue.
classiest of all classes.
Oh yeah. Don't worry, if Juice is rolling the dice for you, you won't kill nobody.
Three
Yes.
guardsmen.
Another cool thing I like about this pitch battle, which is basically how to play pointed games of Age of Sigmar, is the 3 different types of pitch battles to choose from. And there's basically like game types. So you have Vanguard, Battle Host, and War Host. And they even give you a game time. They're like, yo, Vanguard is up to 1.5 hours, right? And not only that, but they give you a points cost, 1,000 points, and they also tell you how big of a table to play it on, 4x4. So like they are literally giving you the framework exactly how to play this stuff. Battle Host is 2 to 2.5 hours at 2,000 points, and War Host is 3 or more hours at 2,500 points. With on an 8x4 table, believe it or not. So like
So
the
give
full
that.
game-
So I mean, the time limit is obviously only there because they're considering competitive play.
Right. I don't see and the whole I would be very surprised if there wasn't a specific section in this book talking about tournament play, because it seems like it's so this stuff is so well written that they really could not have addressed tournament play, I feel like.
And then now, did you just describe that it moves to an 8x4 table?
Yes, in a 2,500 point game.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So all those people who have their piece of plywood that they never cut down to 6 feet, that they put all their dice and shit on the end, they already all set up.
Yep, they're already ready to go.
But I mean, that is 2,500 points is. I mean, you think about that, like, I think that's a game changer. Adding 2 feet to the board, like, what if GW came out with the 8th quote unquote edition, and it's like, oh yeah, if the game is ever played over 2,000 or 2,500 points, just go ahead and move it to 8 feet. Period.
Right.
Like, we
Yeah.
would lose our shits.
We used to play on 4x4 tables at 1,500 points all through
Mhm.
third edition in my
Yeah.
in my area. Like it was always a 4x4.
It would
Yeah.
definitely set some of the major tournaments. It would trip them up a little bit, I feel like. But this concise, very level of specificity,
Yes.
is good to see.
Yes.
Now there's also they have their force org. It works a little different than 40K. It's called HQs are leaders, troops are battle lines. You got artillery, which are basically war machines, and then you got behemoths, which are basically those big ass monster models we were talking about that look so dope. And they tell you specifically how many of each you can take in a game in a different type of pitch battle. So
Whichever game you're taking.
right,
obviously.
and they're very specific, and they tell you that right there. Now don't get it twisted. There's still a business part of all this, because basically they have this understrength rule where, like, say the Liberator guys for the Stormcast, right? They come in a box of 3, right? But a full strength unit is 5, so the unit is still going to cost you 100 points because it's multiples of 5. So they almost kind of set it up for you to buy 2 boxes.
Yeah, it's just like the thing in 30K we talked about, where like 10 Space Marines cost X amount of points, then a unit of 20 costs 50% of the initial investment. So why would you ever play with 10? You'd always play with 20.
You already committed that much.
Mhm.
And so you
But,
buy 20, you buy 10 more.
But, like, what a drastic change from Age of Sigmar, basically Unbound,
Mhm.
to now. Not only, guys, they haven't put points to it, they have put restrictions.
And yeah.
Like, precise
structured.
restrictions like you would see back in 7th, 8th, 6th edition on in Fantasy. You know, like you can only have so many of these. You can only have so many points in this.
Without saying you need 40% troops like
Yes.
they did back in 3rd edition.
Yeah.
They're just giving you, hey, battle line, you need 2. You have to field 2 troops. You're playing 2. You playing 2K? 3 troops.
Yo,
Yeah.
are berserkers from the dwarves troops?
Yeah, we can check on that whole. And actually, we'll use that as an example. I was going to use some chaos stuff, but let's use
Because
that.
I have
one. So,
all these dwarves I'm paying for my boy Optimus Time for this tournament. I mean, for this campaign. I'm like, uh-oh.
Yep, right. Okay, so what I also like about here is units can be taken in multiples of their minimum size. We kind of talked about that right there with the Liberator 5 thing. As long as the number of models in an individual unit does not exceed the maximum size, right? So if it has a minimum of 5 and a maximum of 20 and a points value of 100, then, it's 200 points for 10 or 400 points for 20. So it kind of gives you that framework to look at, which when the points values first dropped for a lot of these things, people weren't really realizing that. And they're like, holy crap, I get all this stuff for like 100 points. Well, that's not necessarily the case. When we, upon second review, that might not be the case. So let's take a look at the dwarfs. Are those Fire Slayers? They're the Hearthguard Berserkers?
Volkite berserkers is what I have.
Volkite Berserkers. Oh my goodness.
The Fire Slayers.
Fire Slayers. Okay, so Volkite Berserkers. Okay, here they are. So yeah, their battlefield role is battle line.
Oh, thank God. What about Hearthguard?
Hearthguard are no battlefield role.
So,
If an army has Fire Slayer's allegiance and its general is a Runefather, they have no battlefield role. So I guess.
oh shit! How many heroes?
Other units, any number. You can take any number.
How about heroes and shit like that? What's the deal there? Do
They
they have like a hero category and a commander category like they used to?
No, they're just all leaders. And
Weird.
and something that they also clarified in here was that if you have a leader and he's riding a mount, like for instance the Magmadroth for these guys, they also count as a behemoth, so it's double against your restriction. So there's a little bit of a drawback for taking a big baddie.
Which one's the Runefather?
Runefather is a hero and a behemoth.
So I think I've got one of those.
Yeah, so that'll just double go against them. Now, for instance, those Volkite Berserkers, they're a minimum unit size of 5 and a maximum of 30 for 80 points. So if you feel all 30 of them for 80 points, that's 6 times 80 points. So think about that for a minute.
Wait, so it's just based on multiples of the minimum size?
Right.
I see. I've got word. No, it's tight. Okay, I think we got some. I think we can play with this. Just want to make sure that we weren't slinging together an unbound Age of Sigmar list to just get it shit on by these points.
I definitely think you'll be okay there.
I think we'll make it.
Now, something else, 40K players, we should be a little wary, or at least be on our radar once we see all the new rules coming out. Some more stuff that leaked, at least as pictures go, was the things called allegiance abilities, and this is basically, to put it in 40K words, it's factions. So, like, say you're Imperial faction, but you're also Blood Angel, okay? Then you could say, put it in Age of Sigmar terms, you could say you are an Imperial army, and if you are taking models all from an Imperial army, you would get a battle trait, and your commander basically gets one of 6 warlord traits. They call them command traits, right? But he gets to pick it, which is pretty dope. They say you can roll a dice, but they also say you can also just pick it, which suits his personality, because you're basically taking not, what is it, Come the Apocalypse or something silly like that, or an ally convenience. You're basically all pretty much the same.
Oh, it's like
a battlefield rule.
Yeah, when you have the same team in HeroClix, you get some kind of bonus,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Promoting thematic play.
And it gives you like what they call a battle trait too. Like for order, you get to reroll all units that are within 12 inches of your general or another hero in the battle shock phase. You can reroll. It's basically leadership.
So that's kind of like a GW has said. If you take a non-unbound list with this, you can get to reroll your warlord trait. So here they're saying, yeah, who cares about a reroll? Literally, just pick it.
Yeah, if you're following structure.
If you want to.
Yeah.
Right. If you want to. You could still roll. I mean, tournaments could tweak that. Something else that's really cool in here too, and that I think we should be on the watch for or on the lookout for, is they call them artifacts of order. There's artifacts for each of the Grand Alliances. This one being order. Basically, you get any hero can be given one of these magical artifacts, and you roll dice for this one, right? But what's cool about this is it's not just a one-time thing like in 40K, like where you have a one relic or whatever. If you take a War Scroll battalion, you can get another one of these artifacts for one of your heroes. And a War Scroll battalion is basically the kind of like a formation in Age of Sigmar. So imagine that if you take a formation along with your CAD, not only do you get this benefit we just talked about, but now you get an artifact. One of your other heroes or your sergeants or your independent characters could get a just a dope artifact. I mean, I think this seems
I'm with that.
Way easier and less clunky than 40K is right now. And I can't wait to get the rule book in my hot little hands, and throw down some Age of Sigmar and see how it does.
Oh man, I can't wait. I mean, I've just been painting these dwarves and just loving them, and so now I want to make that I want to make that orc army with all those new orc models.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I'm definitely in my future is going to be 40K orcs, Age of Sigmar orcs.
Brown bases. That's how my demons roll.
Oh, I loved it back in the day because not only did I have Skaven, but I also had demons, and I was like, it's actually crazy not to have a demon army because it posed as two different armies.
Yeah, and now it's like basically even better.
And now you don't have to come up with any silly base modifications. They're just the same bases.
Yeah.
So much fun. GW doesn't know what they're doing. LOL.
Lols.
Well, before we get out of here, guys, I did want to give a big special shout out to one of our veterans and big fan of the show. He hit me up the other day, and
is that Brian guy?
Yep, Brian Berman. And so I wanted to shout him out. He said, it's been a while, hardcore, long-time NID player, listening to the show, watching some of the NID battle reports, everything else. It brought him back, and he's like, man, I just wanted to share this with you. He's like, one of his main and one of his major downfalls and negatives of the game right now is very similar to a lot of ours, is how spread out the information is, right?
It's ridiculous.
Like, literally, it's everywhere. So he's like, I just made this little gem, thought you would like it. He comprised a 94-page document with customized each page, had its own picture equated to whoever it was referencing. Like, I'm talking about, there is no BS when it comes this guy obviously has got degrees and shit, So either way, he put all the data slates, the Gene Stealer cult information that just came out, the codex, the shield of balls, all that information,
the Walmarters,
everything, dude, is all in this. Well, he didn't stop there, right? He got on, I think the website is Lulu or something of the sort that creates publications and books and stuff, and they'll do at a cheap rate
custom printing.
Yeah, for just one book, So it's that next step versus Staples or something, getting the binders or the staples. They'll actually hardback stuff for you. So he was like, well, he knew that he wanted to have this done, so he created this tight ass front and back cover for it, just like a codex would be. And then he didn't even stop there. He went ahead and did a front and back slip cover for the entire, wraparound slip cover for the whole book. So I've just got it ordered through this website. I will be doing a separate video breakdown of this and sharing all this information.
Yeah,
dude, I want you guys to know how fucking excited I am for this. Unbelievable.
And that's what makes our hobby so dope, is all this extra stuff people do above and beyond for the hobby and for it to help each other and just just general game aids. It's just, man, it's just cool to be a part of.
Did you say game aids?
He did say game aids.
I think we know what I meant.
Yes,
we do.
Know, but it was still funny. But no, you're exactly right, Rob. Like, this is the epitome of bringing the hobby back, right? Like, this is, this game isn't made to, be so competitive that, you don't help your friends out, everything else. Like, man, it's touching to be a part of such a big community.
Does it make it sound any better if I say in-game aids?
No, it's worse.
No, it actually is worse. Feels like I don't want to play 40K with you right now. Like, I might get the in-game.
I don't know what's wrong with you guys.
Yeah.
I'm just talking about some stuff to help you in the game. Guys.
Yeah.
Oh, well, then just say that next time.
Yeah.
Just talking about some things that are kind of helpful while playing, my game. Anyway,
Yeah.
before we go, one last thing. We are taking off 4th of July week. That includes all content, including Battle Report, this podcast, the webcast, tactical videos, unboxing videos, next level painting tutorials, all that stuff. We're going to be off the air. That's July 4th, which is that Monday, where you're not going to see any content from the 4th all the way up until the 10th. And then we'll be fresh on the market again with a new Battle Report on the 11th. And then, just roll all our content out that week. So don't just sit there on Hall of Veterans, click and refresh, waiting for the new video. It's not going to be there. Go to your barbecue and have some weenies.
Yeah, we are all looking forward. It's one of our all favorite holidays, 4th of July. So I can't wait for it.
That's all I had, Rob.
All right, that's fine. Well, let's wrap it all up. All right, guys. Well, thanks for tuning in. The gang's back. Hopefully, we will all return again upon summoning in 1 week, 2 weeks, 2 weeks from today. If you haven't done so already, make sure you head on over to thelongwar.net. That's the home of the battle reports for exclusive content, early access videos, and more. Become a veteran of the Long War today.
Check out thelongwar.net. Become a member of the Hall of Veterans today for the fastest growing library of war game related video content, modeling, painting, and playing. Not to mention all the sick discounts I receive from some of our sponsors. TheLongwar.net is committed to bringing hobby back, and we can't do it without you.